Hey guys, and welcome to our very first episode of our awesome new show, On the Couch. Well, at least we think it's awesome. And the only way you're going to find out if it is or isn't is by watching. So don't go anywhere. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Matt Unan. And in case you're wondering how we came up with the name On the Couch, well, we thought, where do people love watching TV? On the couch, right? And we thought, well, if we had a couch, a comfy couch for some of our guests, then it'd be awesome. So we're pretty creative here in Melbourne, aren't we? So each week on the couch, we'll plan to interview and chat to some of the world's most talented and laid-back individuals. Mother Teresa once said, "Spread love wherever you go." And when we think of organisations that spread love, we think of World Vision, the Red Cross, maybe the Cancer Council, and a few other charities. But one organisation you may or may not have heard of is Coptic Orphans. For those of you who haven't heard of Coptic Orphans, they're an amazing organisation, a Christian organisation that spreads love to the fatherless, particularly in Egypt. So if you've ever thought of doing a mission trip or going away to do some service and helping people in need, hopefully tonight's show will give you some really great insight into exactly that. Tonight, we're blessed and honoured to have with us Mina Ibrahim, Mary Lorca, Matthew Bahari, and Samantha Thanasius. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, guys.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
So I'll kick off tonight's show by starting off with you, Mary, if I can. Why Egypt, when so many other organisations across the world are doing similar things?
Yeah, so I think as Christians we're
And sorry, why Coptic Orphans, I suppose?
Yeah, so I think it's as Christians we're called to serve those who are in need, whether they are here at home or from our motherland, which is Egypt. And I think as Copts, we have the responsibility to give back to our own mother country and to get to know our roots. So Coptic Orphans is special in that we serve the fatherless and the most needy and most vulnerable in Egypt. But it's not the Egypt that you hear about. It's the Egypt that not many people actually go and visit. So when we go to Egypt and visit our relatives and we say, oh, we're actually going to go serve in Armant, they don't even know what this village Armant is. You know, most of our families are from Cairo, Alexandria, the big cities in Egypt, but we go to the cities that are forgotten, the cities that don't have anyone to visit. And so you get to see the real, authentic Egypt, and you get to live there for 3 weeks. And because it's for 3 weeks, you get that chance and opportunity to build relationships with the kids. You stay in one area and you do classrooms with the same children for 3 weeks. You build relationships with them by teaching them, by playing with them, and by visiting them in their homes. And so you really get on and one-to-one interaction really builds your relationship with them and get to know them as friends. As younger brothers and sisters. And there's 2 types of classrooms. You can either teach them in English, or you can teach them like health, hygiene kind of classrooms where you teach them about good nutrition, hygiene, like basic first aid. We actually went on the one that teaches them English, and you don't just teach them English, you teach them love, you teach them respect, you teach them Christ. You try to be the best example of Christ as any service that you would do. So that's the special thing about Coptic Orphans, and I think as Egyptians you have that deeper understanding because you understand the kids' humor, the way they speak, because you hear that a lot at home, right? Yeah. So it's quite special in that way. But even if you don't speak Arabic very well, they really love that. Like they actually see you as superstars, and they love the fact that you can't speak Arabic, and they want to teach you a bit of Arabic as well. So it's really special that way. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Can you tell us a story of how Coptic Orphans has changed your life?
Okay. I had the blessing of going to Surf to Learn twice. So I got to see the same kids grow up throughout the program. There was one particular kid that stood out from the Surf to Learn program. His name is Shabe, and he was not one of my favorites at the start. He was one of those kids in the classroom that would just come to class to cause havoc and not learn anything. He came to be the clown of the class, and everyone just wasn't paying attention, and he would walk out whenever he wants, and he would come late. So he's a teacher's nightmare, really.
You gotta love those.
Yeah, you gotta love him. And so the first year he actually caused a lot of problems for the program, and we were the volunteers were thinking about kicking him out because he was causing more harm than good in the classroom. And when I actually did end up kicking him out, we got some of the boys to serve him after hours of the school. And we thought that he would learn his lesson and come back and everything would be fine. But when he came back, he was really upset from being kicked out, so he decided to go to a different classroom than mine, so another volunteer's classroom. I was really upset about that, but I thought that doesn't matter because we're all doing the same service. He goes to the other classroom, and he still wants my attention. So during playtime, he would always come and try and cause havoc in front of me. So I would give him attention, and I recognized that. So it's actually very essential not just to serve them in the classrooms, but to spend time with them after the classrooms during playtime.
Would you say they're craving that attention?
Absolutely. And I only noticed that because a Shabe came to me in the last day and told me, "I'm so sorry for causing so much trouble in the classroom, and I really, really appreciate you not giving up on me, because you were the first person that listened to me after my mother had passed away a month before."
Wow.
And I think that's when you realize how much of an impact you can have on these kids. You think 3 weeks is nothing, but being there and giving them the attention that they crave for and that they don't get at home or in their schools or in service even, they crave this kind of love and full attention, and it means the world to them. And so he apologized, and he actually kept in touch with me throughout the year. Now the amazing thing is I went back to Serve to Learn the year after, and I saw this boy just flourish. And the Tamav of the monastery, actually the first year, she told me, "Give up on him, he's such a bad boy, he steals from the church. I wouldn't encourage you to bring him back to the program," but I insisted that he would come back. That was the first year. The second year I go back, and Tamav was like, "I don't know what happened, but that boy, ever since you guys served him the first year, he's changed 180 degrees.
Wow.
She now gives him the keys to the monastery. He's
Wow.
the one that opens up and looks after the monastery. He tells the kids not to throw rubbish in the monastery. They can vouch for it, because when I told these guys what a Shaib used to be like the year before, they couldn't believe it, because he was such a changed boy. And all the kids actually look up to him. He's like their role model now. And so for us to create role models in their community, then that's our job done. Because, we go and we want them to be built leaders for their younger siblings and brothers and sisters. So I felt very proud of him. And he really benefited from the classrooms the second time around. And I think that's what Coptic Orphans is all about. It's about building a relationship through, with the partnership of the church and with the partnership of sponsors like us, volunteers from Australia, Canada, America, coming together as one body in Christ and giving to our brothers and sisters in Egypt.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Really is. Now, Mary, I've got a question that I know is probably on a lot of people's minds. People who are thinking of going to Serve to Learn, and maybe parents of young people who want to go to Serve to Learn.
Yes.
Egypt, is it safe?
Yes, it's a very good question. And I think about 4 or 5 years ago, when there was a lot of unrest in Egypt, a lot of us were very, we weren't very comfortable going to Egypt. But now I think it's very different, and the matters have calmed down, and a lot of churches all around Australia have actually organised trips to Egypt, and that's really encouraging. And so we would never ever take trips or youth out to Egypt unless we are sure that it's safe. And what we do is we actually stay with the bishops there, so we're hosted by the bishops of where we're serving. So for example, when we went to Armand, Amba Joachim was the one that was hosting us. And the bishops usually have the best idea if the area that they're in is safe or not. And so if they feel like it's unsafe, they tell us actually not to come. So this happened in 2013 when there was burning of churches in Minya. And the bishops there basically told us, look, we would love for you to come. Please come when matters have calmed down, but right now is not a good time to come. So we've never had this in the last couple of years. And so thank God we've been able to take the youth and no problems. We haven't had actually any problems.
And that's beautiful that the bishops themselves take the safety of the volunteers as their number one paramount. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I guess I'll open up to maybe Mina and ask you, I suppose, where did you serve and for how long?
So I served in a small town village called Armand. It was on the borders of Luxor. We served there for 3 weeks. It was a very poor village, we would say, and we were pretty much restricted because there's not much places to go. It's not like a city, so we were restricted to the monastery grounds, which was beautiful in a way where it helped us to understand the village that we lived in and who we're serving and the kind of people that live in that village, and that they're very limited in resources, so they pretty much are very efficient in the way they live, which was a good eye-opener for a person who lived in a growing city my whole life.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about doing some of these trips is the fact that you realise how much we take for granted, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like these people, Matt and Simone, I'll ask you guys, these people I suppose don't have much at all, like Mina touched on, not many resources at all, and yet we've got everything and we're still not grateful, and they seem to be grateful over the very few, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a different life there altogether. You go there and you find that they've got absolutely nothing, but they're more grateful for what they have than we are for what we have. And they don't have all of their technology, they don't have a proper home to live in. You know, they call it a home, but it's barely one, to be honest with you. So it's a completely different life, and I think they are a lot closer to God over there, just because they don't have things like, you know, the technology distracting them. So it's nothing I can say really to describe it unless you actually go and see it.
Yeah, beautiful. Can you tell us about the culture and the lifestyle there?
Yeah, well, it's a lot different than it is here. They don't have anything, as I said, but when you go and visit them in their houses, they offer you food and drinks.
It's amazing.
And the thing is, if you say no, that's an insult.
Yeah.
That's an insult.
Even though they don't have much, they still want to offer you.
Mina was saying that they get like what £5 a day, and with one of his visits, actually, Mina, talk about it. What you were saying with the Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah, so soft drink to them is a luxury. So when we used to visit houses, we realised that if we asked for a soft drink or a cold drink, they'd go to the nearest corner store and buy it. So we learnt that. So every house we visited after that, we actually requested tea when they asked us what would you like to drink, because we know the tea is the bare minimum that they have, and most houses have tea, so it's easy accessible for them, and it's easy for them to offer us tea and cheaper for them. So to the point where we just kept insisting that all we want is just tea. We love tea, and all we drank 3-4 times per visit is tea.
But I mean, something like it's amazing. Like something like soft drinks that we just take for granted, and we can have 10 drops of soft drinks a day. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about how much it costs. You know, like
it's a luxury.
And it might be the last penny that they have, but they have so much faith in God because they relied on God, and they've tested God so many times. Like God has helped them when they've had nothing. That their faith grows day by day, and they are willing to give their all for us because they know that God's there and will cover them. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Can you draw like a comparison of what it's really like to be in the shoes of one of these kids for a day?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I don't know what they do in the morning, because what they do is, what we did essentially was we stayed at the monastery and then we went into the school which was next door and taught them. So they came in from different parts of Lotso and like around amongst where we were staying. They come in with their eating habits are different. They have snacks instead of like a proper breakfast. So they're not well educated. They're really not. So they come in with a packet of chips or something like that, or something small that's just not healthy.
And they would share that with us.
And they would share it with us as well. Yeah, absolutely. They would share it with us.
So there was a time, Matthew, where one kid brought a sandwich with them, and sandwich. Well, this kid's rich. For him to bring a sandwich. So I wanted to understand these children. So I asked him, "Can I have half your sandwich?" And a sandwich is something rare a child would bring into the playground. So I was expecting him to say, "No, it's the only one I have." So the boy ripped the sandwich in half. And offered it to me. Obviously, I did not take it. I just wanted to understand and be in his shoes, like you asked. Yeah. And he ripped it apart and gave me half. Obviously, I refused to take it, but I learned something that I misjudged the child. I thought he was going to say, "No, that's all I have," but he gave me all he had.
Yeah.
These kids are the same as their parents in the sense that they, when they offer you food, you can't say no to them. They're stubborn as well. I tried, like one of the kids, they were giving me like some chips. I was like, no, thank you. No, I'm good. And he beat me. I had to take the chips. I had to take them.
Yeah.
So it just shows how kind they are as well. It's incredible.
It is.
And the way they dress. We remember one kid that had the same polo jumper every single day, and you think like this here in Australia, when you see a kid just wearing the same thing every day, it'd be like, why is this kid, does he not have any other jumpers? But you'd be surprised to know that these kids actually wear their best for Surf to Learn, and this might be his jumper that he wore for Eid, and he he loves it so much he would wear it every day for Surf to Learn because that's the best he's got.
Wow.
And they would wear their best every day, even though we think of it as simple clothes that need a wash, or like that for them it was like we're coming to Eid every day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's just beautiful. Excuse me, sorry. Can you tell us what the classes were like? Any challenges in the classes, or how did the kids respond to you on day one compared to the last day?
I think the kids in the beginning they were very shy. So I think some of us were a bit shy as well, to introduce ourselves to them, and they were shy as well. But through time they became very comfortable with us, and actually something that stood out was that so the boys and girls, they didn't like to sit next to each other in the class because they were being respectful, or they found it very rude to sit boys and girls sit together. So we tried to teach them, that it's okay to sit together and to share, colour pencils or to talk amongst one another. But I think through time they started to become a lot more comfortable with each other, and they became a lot more comfortable with us. And it was a really good experience. I think they learned a lot from us, and we learned a lot from them.
That's beautiful. It's amazing, one of these things with regards to service. It's like sometimes we think we're going to serve, but we're actually the ones, like you just touched on, we learnt from them as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
It's amazing. Can you take us through like a typical day of a Surf to Learn volunteer?
Who wants to take that?
A long day.
It's a very long day.
Maybe the shorter version then.
Well, we wake up in the morning, or at least we try to. I struggled with that one. But so we wake up at about 7:38, go down, have breakfast, and then we go into our classrooms at 9 o'clock. We'd have 3 classes every day. So there'd be about an hour and a half each. Was it an hour and a half?
An hour.
Yeah. An hour plus the break. So an hour and and then after that we would go back to have lunch to the monastery, and then some of us would go to home visits. So we'd go to individual kids' houses and see how they lived. So, and that's when we really got to know them on a personal level and see, how their life was. So then we'd stay with them for a bit, and then we would go home, sleep, and then try to wake up the next morning again.
Wow. So 3 classes a day, and then spending time with them in their homes and doing visitations.
Yeah.
But when we visit at home, we just don't sit there and just drink tea. we bring games with us and we
Yeah.
play games with the kids. And what we like to do is get the mum involved. The mum's obviously wearing black because the father passed away and she's always reserved and sitting on her own. So we try our best to get her involved in the games. And the mum's shy at first, but we found out that by the end of the night, the mum's is the one getting really passionate about the games and getting involved and getting really competitive. And you can see them come out of their shell towards the end of the night.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's absolutely right. And as Mina said, because the mums are usually reserved and stuff, the kids, her own kids, are not used to her like playing with them in that way. And so for them to see mum, you know, interacting and playing is also really nice and gets them closer as well. And that's what we were there for, just to build that relationship and maintain that. Yeah.
And drink their tea.
And drink their tea. Yeah.
They say mission trips can change a person's life.
Yeah.
Simone, what changed for you personally?
Okay. I want to explain that yes, the mission trip does change your life, but I think everyone has the wrong idea about it. They think that the mission trip would change your life dramatically as soon as you know, jump off the plane, you're back in your country and you're a different person. I don't think that's the case. I think it happens through time, like it's a gradual process that happens. And for me, it happened through, you know, my decisions in life. My priorities changed. More importantly, my perspective on life. So I was always, you know, looking at worldly possessions, or I would prioritize things that weren't that important. And through time, I started to realize, you know, it's not important. I need to prioritize God, number one. I need to be more content with myself and things that I already have in my life, because, you know, we are all living a very comfortable living. And, you know, these kids, they taught us, you know, to be more content. They taught us to always prioritize God and to do all of that. And I think that came, you know, from that mission trip. And I don't think I ever would have learned if I didn't go on this trip, to be honest. And I hope that everyone gets that opportunity. And I really do encourage everyone to try and make an effort to do this trip, because it really does change your life through time. Yeah, definitely.
I suppose you've answered my next question. Why is it that people, when they do a mission trip, they want to go back?
Yeah, and I think it should be something, you should be consistent with something like this. I don't think it should be a one-off, you know, once a year or once every 5 years, like maybe once every couple of years, or, you know, you should be very consistent with it. And, you know, you don't want to lose that relationship that you built with those kids. It's something that is good to have in life, and yeah, you don't want to lose it, definitely.
Yeah. What was the most amazing thing you maybe saw, heard, or experienced on this trip?
A lot.
I've got a story that I'll never forget. I was doing one of the home visitations. I was driving to someone's house, and in the car we were told his story, like, you know, what his situation is. We were told that, you know, he's not living in the best of conditions, and then we were told, actually no, I'll say that after. So he's already living in horrible conditions, to, you know, nowhere near even average. So we went over to his house and we saw how he was living, and, you know, they barely had anything like everyone else, but again, they were thankful for everything they had. You know, every time you'd say something to them, they always end their sentence with Nishkur Rabbena.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, we don't even do that here.
So for those of you for our audience who don't know Arabic, that means thank God.
Thank
right?
God, yeah. So
they're content.
They're content
over the little few that they have. You know? And yet, you're right, we don't do that here, and we're blessed, you know. We're the most livable country in the world, Melbourne's the most livable city in the world. I just love having that into the city.
You say so, I'd say Sydney, but okay.
Available.
But anyway, going back onto the story, this boy, he had nothing, but we found out that he had a medical condition, that he's been suffering from a very young age. So, and it's a mental condition. So the other boys in his class were actually teasing him about it. He used to get very high grades. He used to be the top of his class.
Wow.
And like, no one could stop him. And although he's living in horrible conditions, he's still doing very well for himself. But then he started getting bullied, which is, you know, just a cherry on top, to think that he's already got everything's gone bad. Now his friends are like turning against him.
That must be pretty hard.
It's insane. It's difficult. So this boy, just one person, he's going through such a difficult time. You know, we think we have it hard here with some of the things, but this boy was what, 11, 12 years old, and he's going through all of this poverty. He's going through bullying at school. His grades have dropped as well because of the fact that he's getting bullied.
Yeah.
So he needs help. This is only one boy out of hundreds, thousands of kids in Egypt. And I only met one of them, or got to really know one of them. So it's important that we reach out and do our best for these kids, because I think God has given us that opportunity, and we're not doing as much as we can. There's always room for improvement, and that's what obviously Coptic Orphans are doing. So, yeah.
There's another story that comes to mind actually. Matthew reminds me of that. And these boys and girls, they face a lot of social issues that we would never have imagined. So one particular boy that I remember, his name was Gergis. So we had this rule that if the kids came to class a little bit late, they can't actually come in, so that we can try and get them to come in early. Anyways, this kid would always come earlier than normal because he actually enjoyed helping me out and helping me set up the classroom and things like that. So I really appreciated that. But then one day he came really late, and I just let him in because I knew that there must have been something that got him to come late. And then I let that go, and then the next day he came in late again. So I talked to him after class, and I'm like, Gergis, what's going on? And he was like, I just work, I couldn't make it on time. I was like, you can tell me, did you wake up late? Did you sleep in? He was like, no. Yes, we all know how that feels. And he's like, no, I wake up at 4 a.m. And I was like, what are you doing at 4 a.m? And if that's the case, why didn't you come? And he was like, I had to do an early shift with Dad. I had to help him he was a bricklayer. And it all just hit me that these kids hold so much responsibilities that they shouldn't have to. I mean, this kid
How old was he?
11 years old.
And he was working
as a bricklayer, and that's
bricklayer.
dangerous.
No.
That's dangerous. I mean, for his size, he can't carry bricks and things like that. And that was for him normal. And yet he still tried to make it on time to class because he loved class so much. And once I got talking to him and stuff, I started learning that he has a younger brother that he feels very responsible for because he's the man of the house now. And so for an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old to feel that he needs to make money, he needs to go to school, so he needs to be a student, he needs to be the father of the house and look after his younger brother and provide for the family and his mum, and he needs to also be a son for the mum. And so for a young boy to have all these roles in the family and to juggle all these roles is actually much more difficult and very complex for a young kid. And so that's why the service is there, because these kids need the chance to be a child and to play and to have fun and to learn.
Yeah, they're still in that stage of life at the end of the day.
It's crazy that they have to work and provide for the family and be a father figure. That's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah. With regards to, I suppose, mission trips, right? There's a perception that they're almost an obligation. I'm sure it was challenging, but having it all said and done, did you guys actually have fun as well?
Absolutely.
Matthew, I'd like to just add something to that, because you're saying, it is challenging, but
I mean, I'm sure it was rewarding as well.
But it could be easier than a lot of people think. A lot of people think it's hard and service is hard and mission is hard, but it's so much easier than people think. I'll share an experience with you where this is the turning point of my trip, when everything changed for me, and I did nothing, but a lot was affected by my nothingness. You know what I mean? I visited a home, and it was the only Christian home in a village, and we had to walk through a path to get to the end of this little houses to visit this family. And we went in, we visited them, we had our tea, we had our games, and on the way out, everyone was sitting in the front little porch on the street, having a little barbecue and eating food, and on the footpath outside. So everyone saw us all walking out, and mind you, we were still new to the visitation school. We had our clothes from Sydney. We dressed nice, and we looked good. We looked
Mr.
different.
Hamid.
We looked different compared to the people who were just wearing galabiet and thongs in freezing cold weather. You know what I mean? So the people started to look at us, and the people started to stare at us, and they saw us coming out from this Christian lady's house, and she was the poorest one in that whole little town, and then they started to look at us and ask, who are these people? Why are they visiting this woman? And obviously they know we were out-of-towners, and when I mean out-of-towners, I mean not even from the country.
Yeah.
So I asked the volunteer rep, why are these people staring at us and why are they questioning who we are and why we're visiting her? He goes, you'd be surprised, your 20-minute visitation, what it did to this woman and her house. You just gave her a backbone. You just showed these people that this woman's not alone, and she has support from people who are from out of the country. And the fact that you came and the way you're dressed, the way you are, and walking into this woman's house, all these people now are going to respect her and give her the respect she deserves, being the only Christian woman.
Wow.
And
that's just God working.
And I just started getting goosebumps when I started to hear that, knowing that my visitation where I did nothing put this woman up on a pedestal.
Yeah. And that's just God working through you guys, right? Because you had no idea, like you said, that going into that house was going to have that effect. But God knows exactly what that woman needs right at that point in time, for example.
Yeah.
And that's how amazing God is, yeah?
And God blesses the little that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. If we do our best, God will do the rest.
That's right.
And that's the great thing that you guys are doing and on these trips. You're serving and God's blessing that and touching these lives of these children and their families.
That's right.
But there was also time for fun, to answer your question, and we had lots of fun. We were tourists for a couple of days, we did the sightseeing.
I gained abs from the amount of laughing we did.
And I milked a cow.
Yeah.
And Mark witnessed that,
And Simran milked a cow.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And I drank it also. It was on a home visitation.
Did you?
Yeah.
And she's still alive to tell the story.
That's
wonderful.
Yeah. It was lots of fun.
That's awesome.
And we like Mina said, we do the visits to the temples like Luxor temples, the Hatshepsut temple, and the River Nile, like Fulukaride and things like that. And then we visit the monasteries as well around the area and take their blessing of the saints.
It's beautiful.
And
Yes.
we also prank KFC.
Oh my god, that was the best.
So can you tell us a funny story about that? I mean, I'm still intrigued. I'm still intrigued by how Maddie got abs from
laughing.
Oh, I only got one ab. It's otherwise known as a catch.
Because I was going to say, that might be my next thing. Instead of working out, I might just
Go on the trip.
start laughing and hopefully I'll get some abs.
But regardless of the laughing, you're going to get abs anyway. You're eating organic and you're walking 20 k's a day.
Yeah, that's true. And you play like with the kids how many hours? Yeah, you lose weight.
Yeah.
And some of us even did squats with kids on our backs.
Hey, that was you.
And how heavy was this kid? Mina?
So not only do you get an amazing experience, but you get a good workout too. It's fantastic.
We like to, exercise the body, mind, and soul.
That's
In every way, yeah.
But we also had a cheat day where we tried to order KFC to deliver
Yeah.
20 kilometres down the road.
And you pranked them.
And we pranked
Can you
them.
tell us a funny story
Hey, I
about
wasn't pranking, I was being serious.
Yeah.
I wanted KFC.
So you want to tell the story?
So we were in Luxor at the time, and we wanted KFC.
So Luxor is about an
40.
hour and a half away from Armand.
Okay.
So Armand is a village, like rural village away from Luxor. And we had a day trip to Luxor and we were having like a lot of fun, but then the fun ended and we were on our way back to Armand and we really wanted KFC
We
for
were
dinner.
hungry.
But so we were in Armand and wanting the delivery from Luxor to Armand, right? So Maddie calls up KFC and tells them that we want the order and we'll pay him like £1,000.
No, I started lower than that. I started £500, I think.
£500 for him to come out to do the trip to Armand, And the guy was like, oh, look, you know, like,
You're out of our zone.
you're out of our zone, you can't do it. And so Maddie's like, okay, how about if we pay you £1,000? And the guy was like, oh, that's pretty serious. So he's like, okay, I'll talk to my manager.
Yeah.
So he talks to the manager, he's like, oh, sorry, like, £1,000 is great, but, you know, we can't go, because they can't guarantee that we'll pay that. And so Maddie was like, well, how about if you deliver to Australia?
No, I did go up to £2,000.
Oh, you did?
I offered them £2,000, which is an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
And they still declined my very
My
generous
offer.
offer. But yeah, it was just a nice little, you know, fun thing that we did as well. Like one of the many. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think you become so physically tired that mentally you go a little bit crazy. But that's the fun of it. Like you become one family.
Yeah.
After 3 weeks, you like that strong bond between the fellowship is so strong that even when you come back a year later, you're still strong as ever. You're still one family, and nothing's gonna break that. Like Christ was in the midst of us for 3 weeks. And that creates a really strong bond. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that's the great thing when you form really good relationships, not only with the kids, but with your fellow volunteers, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we flown down to Melbourne to see one today. I mean, yesterday, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
How did the children impact you? I mean, were you ever led to tears? You know, and I don't want to, sound negative, but.
Absolutely, yeah. I absolutely, like, especially in the first week when, you really get the culture shock and you see the homes and you think, you're expecting simple homes, but not this bad. And so to be in the midst of that, but to feel their joy and contentment will obviously stir up a lot of emotions, because I remember one particular home that I visited, the widow was so joyful that she was singing hymns and with tabla, like in her tabla.
Oh, wow.
And for me, I think that was so shocking because her home was literally 2 meters by 2 meters. The roof was collapsing. She has like 4 or 5 kids, and they're all so happy that these people all the way from Australia are coming to visit them. And for her to be so generous to, provide us a meal, and she brought like her tabla and her neighbors, and it was a big party, and she had such a nice sense of humor that I was in stitches the whole night, and just so joyful that she was singing and on her tabla, and she wanted us all to dance with her. I felt the most joyful feeling that I would never have been able to feel even here in Australia in the midst of all comforts. And so I remember that night very well, because that kind of happiness is because you feel these people are living with Christ. They really are. And for them to share Christ with us is beautiful. It's the most beautiful experience. And so that really moved me. I remember going back home and thinking, God, I wish I could have stayed longer.
Matthew, the Bible tells us for us to enter the kingdom of heaven, we must be like children.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just imagine these children with the purity and the innocence of a child, then add to it the simplicity of living that poor life. So add simplicity and add humility to it. Yeah. So what we took from these children, if we use it correctly in our days here on earth, we guaranteed heaven. And that was what we tried to take from this trip, to learn the innocence, the purity, the simplicity, the humility, and take that. What's best to learn all this from a child.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. It is. It's really beautiful. For those people watching us tonight, right, considering whether they should do serve to learn or not.
Yeah.
What advice have you guys got for them? Simone, maybe.
I would say definitely go for it. Give it a try. Fill out the application. I know that you have to kind of explain why you want to do it on the application. So give yourself some time to think about why you want to do it, reflect, and make a decision. But I think it's a great experience. I definitely recommend it to anyone. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the next trip is next January.
Yeah.
So it's from January 21st till February 11th. And it's $500 for the 3 weeks. We basically
Pretty cheap.
Yeah, so basically the bishop there, like I said, hosts.
Does that cover?
So it covers accommodation, food, and transport throughout the 3 weeks. So you make your own way there. So you cover your own airfares, and we meet in Lotso. And for the 3 weeks, you're hosted by the bishop. So accommodation's pretty alright. It's nice.
Yeah.
And we cover the food and the transport to like weekend trips and like the visitations at night and things like that. Like Simone said, you can find the application online, www.copticorphans.org, and so you just go on the Surf to Learn tab and you find all the information there.
So you said January 21st to February
11th.
11th?
Yeah, and we'll be in Lutzer and Aswan.
Okay, so that's the next one.
Yes.
And then, if for whatever reason people still want to do Surf to Learn but can't attend that one, there's also a mid-year one?
Yes, so June, July usually, and during the summer holidays over there. So we try to do it at times where the kids over in Egypt are on holiday. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Matthew, but some people who want to do this program need to understand that there's a misconception. Just because it's called Serve to Learn, we're not going to serve the children. We are going to be served ourselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you take more out of this trip than what you're giving these children.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, like, bishops across the world and in Egypt support it.
Absolutely.
It's blessed by His Holiness, both
Total Address.
Todros
And
and His
you
Holiness.
get to meet
the
him.
late
You
Niall
You
Versioner.
get to meet Patrols on this trip.
Yeah, so we got His Holiness's blessing at
That's
the end of the
fantastic.
trip, and he always likes to meet with the volunteers, and he keeps telling us to please encourage more youth from Australia, Canada, US, like abroad, to come to Egypt and give back to your brothers and sisters, and don't forget them. I think that was one of the things that His Holiness Pope Shenouda told us, to remember those who have no one to remember them.
Yeah.
You know, because the Copts in Egypt, you know, really have it rough, and if we don't go back and remember them, they have no one else to serve them, and so they don't have a good government to, you know, provide for them like we do here. They don't have, you know, a community that like caters for them and caters for minorities like we do here. So they only have the support of their brothers and sisters abroad.
Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us,
Thanks for
Matt.
having us,
Thank
Matt.
you.
It's been a pleasure.
And by the way, your couch is comfortable.
So comfortable, we're not going to cry. We're not going to leave.
No, we're taking them home.
Yeah.
To Sydney.
To Sydney.
Awesome.
Don't even know what.
So, guys, there you have it. Tonight we were blessed with the presence of Mary, Mina, Matthew, and Simone from Serve to Learn, the Coptic Orphans, in our brothers and sisters from Sydney. So we'd love to thank them again, and just like if you're thinking about going overseas or doing something to serve those who are less fortunate, we're blessed and lucky enough to have fresh food on table, food on table, clothes on our back, and a roof over our head. But there's people out there that don't necessarily have that. We're lucky and thankful and grateful to God that we've got fresh air every morning. There's some people who don't necessarily have that. So if you're thinking about going and doing something to remember the fatherless and remember those who have no help, like His Holiness Pope Shenouda III said, think about doing this awesome Serve to Learn trip with Coptic Orphans. Thanks again for watching us, and we hope you enjoyed it. From everyone down here in the CYC studio in Melbourne, we'll see you next week on the couch.